Hello and good morning. And thanks for the great introduction. I hope you've enjoyed the last night's award show, and I hope you're going to enjoy the next couple of minutes of my new curated slides. Actually, I took the opportunity to create everything new, so you won't see like old slides from other presentations which you might have seen in the past, and you can get obviously all the slides for free tomorrow. And instead of like pushing all of you to my LinkedIn account, I've decided platforms are too powerful, so I try to force you to register for my newsletter, where I will hide the download link for the presentation tomorrow. So in the last 20 years, obviously, where I was engaged in e-commerce, there was no time which was as hard as it is today, like to predict kind of the future, what's happening right now. So it's kind of a situation where I wake up every morning, read the news about Claudebot and the new ways how Perplexity is trying to trick its engineers, and then I'm reminded more or less of the very long article of the blog Wait But Why, where they were predicting the moment of singularity. I don't know if you've heard the word singularity before. That's the moment when the computer god is taking over. And right now it feels a bit that the computer god is like, it's getting powerful enough like to take over. And it's a two-piece blog article. The first piece was explaining how long it will take the AI industry like to develop a computer god. The article is from 2015, and they predicted 10 to 30 years. And now 10 years later, we might see this kind of moment. But the second article is even more interesting. There is trying to figure out, will the computer god be good or bad? Which is a more interesting thing to learn. What we are seeing right now is kind of my observations on e-commerce, a couple of like trends and facts, and it's a bit different from what I've presented in the last couple of years. It's not so much focused on predictions, but more focused on questions, because those questions I have myself. So it's very hard for me, for many companies right now, retailers, manufacturers, even vendors, to predict what's going to be their future in like 1 year, 2 year, and 3 years. Some of you have played around with tools like Lovable, with Claude Code, and it's incredible what's possible, but it's even harder now to predict what it means for us in the next like 2 years. And last week, or like 2 weeks ago, I attended a show from Leon Winscheid. Some of you might know him. He's a very well-known guy on the therapeutic sector in Germany, book author, and he's like giving shows on behavioral science. And he presented a concept which is called circle of death. You might have seen it before, but when there's kind of an ant colony losing their way, it can happen that they end up in a circle of death, which is looking like this. So when like a couple of like ants are starting to lose the odor of their track, they're starting to move in circles. Other ants are following them, and they all believe they're moving in the right direction, but eventually they are losing energy and they end up in this kind of pile in the middle. It's called the circle of death in ants, and you might it's a very popular concept. And it feels that like many directions we might take from here, many decisions we might take from here feel like a circle of death decision. We're just like moving behind like other ants that have already lost their the true way. And therefore, I urge you it's a good time actually to be at this conference, because right now you can decide which kind of directions you want to move to. And I hope I can show you some directions that are like more worthy like to move in that direction. Before we are going into those questions, let's try to figure out where we are standing today. Some of you have started in this industry rather early, like with me 20 years ago, and we all had like the same picture of the brick and mortar market, obviously, and thanks to Gemini, you can create these nice pictures now there, where we were saying like brick and mortar is dead. And some inner cities, not only in Berlin, but also in my hometown Kiel and Neumünster and Schwerin, are looking like this. So the inner city is very unattractive, and this gave us kind of confidence and hope that most of this dead inner cities, dead brick and mortar retail is moving into e-commerce. That's kind of our industry. And when we are looking at the statistics, still 75% of like all retail revenue is done offline. It's still dying. It's not like a super, super interesting market, but what we need to be clear about is that 25%, which is kind of the remaining rest of this industry, that's the industry where we are in. And we need to figure out how this industry is kind of behaving right now. And when we are like trying to dig deeper in this industry, we started obviously with creating online shops here. Gemini had kind of a problem figuring out what's the right direction for the display, but it's obviously showing somebody who is using a standard online and desktop shop, which was kind of the standard in the industry from 2002 until like 2010, when like the iPhone and the mobile commerce took over. And this like last 10 years, we've kind of stand here in like similar setups and saying, okay, e-commerce must move into mobile first and into super tailored personalization kind of mode. It was not really happening, but we developed a lot of like stuff around like mobile experiences. Still, 70% of all Western e-commerce transactions are made on desktop, revenue normalized. So also most of the usage time is mobile first. 70% is kind of ending up in a desktop environment. And even like the more desperate moves of like many e-commerce retailer in a mobile first kind of niche, like app first, mobile first, we still figured out the customers are not ending up in the mobile experience which we created for them. They are not ending up in the retailer's app, in the retailer's mobile experience. They are still ending up on platforms. And this is kind of a more and more drastic phenomenon. The platform have taken over, and 75% globally, and I show you some more numbers in a minute, of all the transactions are now in platforms. In the Western world, it's like 65% plus. In the Chinese world, it's like almost 90%. 90% plus. Still, most of us are trying to optimize the experience on a mobile-first ecosystem, and now we are getting kind of the new stick we will which is thrown like into our direction, which is the Universal Commerce Protocol, and like other companies will develop like similar protocols from Google. We are saying, okay, instead of focusing on your mobile experience, focusing on your product data, we as Google, we take care for the customer experience, and we will send you the customer. But the problem in this like commerce world, like 25% of the retail revenue, which is happening 75% on platforms, there's like one particular platform which is taking over most of the growth. And that's not like the old platforms, it's the new platforms. So my prediction is that only 1% or less than 1% of e-commerce transaction will be like on agentic commerce within the next 18 months. So there's no need for you to focus on this niche phenomena. Which is made more interesting is like the lady, the partner of this man here on the bench, who's like shopping and shopping and shopping, which is not relying on intent-based e-commerce anymore. But it's definitely a model where she is shopping in a discovery kind of e-commerce, which is mainly driven by companies like Temu, Shein, and TikTok Shop. And when you compare those 4 different kind of setups, you're seeing like very dominant companies which were like in each setup leading in this category. So Galeria, Kaufhaus, Bräuninger was leading or is still leading like in the retail world. You had Zalando in the desktop first world. You might consider About You in the mobile first world as a leader in e-commerce. And in this new world, in this discovery-based world, you see now TikTok Shop and Temu and others are coming actually into the market. What's interesting, only like for 3 of those 4 different like shopping behavioral patterns, UCP is important. And it's actually for those 3. For those 3, there's kind of a new layer presented right now, which is not solving any of the new problems. It's just solving like an old problem, is moving even more power to the platform world. And in this world here, there's like one promise, not only by Google, but also like by Amazon. They're giving you the promise, you're going to stay the merchant of record. You might have seen it in the USP protocol description. You, dear retailer, you, dear manufacturer, you are staying the merchant of record. You are owner of the customer. But in this new world, that doesn't matter anymore. You don't want to be the merchant of record, you want to be the platform of record. Because the customer is not bound to the merchant of record anymore. He or she is only bound to the platform of record. Merchant of record is like the losing value proposition. If you are the one owning the inventory, if you are responsible like for the inventory risk, you are losing. And it's very, very interesting to see how the platform of record strength is growing in 2025 and even 2026. And their e-commerce database has released a new study, I think this week, and you find like QR codes outside where you can download it for free. They've predicted that the global growth of the platform, that most of the growth of platforms are coming from these three: PDD, which is like Temu here in the Western world, TikTok Shop, and Amazon. These three platforms alone are responsible for 40% of predicted e-commerce growth in 2026. And they are the platform of record. They own the customer. It's not you owning the customer anymore. It's even getting harder in the next couple of years. It's also like from the ECB document. You're seeing that globally, like platforms are already very strong, and they are getting like more and more percentage points. Like the standalone online shop is getting like a smaller and smaller share of customer access every year. And if you translate this into a number, it comes. You can use the concept of the Gini coefficient. Some of you might have heard it, the Gini coefficient. The Gini coefficient in e-commerce platform is 90% plus. For the ones who have not heard about Gini coefficient, that is a number you are using in macroeconomics to describe how fair distributed is value in societies. So you can see, for example, the Gini coefficient, the blue one here is like 40% and 50% above, means that a big part of value, like which is distributed in society, is owned by very few people. And the worse the Gini coefficient is getting, like you see 65%, for example, in countries like South Africa, very few people own most of the money. And this is actually an environment where you have like gated communities, very high walls protecting you from the rest. And that's actually, we are even in a worse kind of setup like in e-commerce. We have a Gini coefficient of 90% in e-commerce. Platforms have won, for sure. Though we don't need to discuss if there's like a big chance of like standalone consumer shops in the future. Biggest traffic and biggest success is on platforms. So what does it mean for us? There's a couple of like questions that are like emerging from this fact or from this statement. If you're looking at the numbers from last week, I think Amazon showed the numbers last week. It's very important to understand what it means for us. So let's take like one Amazon number. This is the Amazon EBIT, the yellow marked number, 45 billion. That's actually the money Amazon earned with AWS, the infrastructure arm, in the last year. They only earned 4 billion with their international business, which like is a merely 2% EBITDA margin for a business where they are clearly leading, obviously, in the world. And on their on the US business, they were a bit more profitable, 7%. Which is because obviously they have a better economies of scale in the US, and they are protected a bit more like from Chinese competitors. But what's important to see, all the growth, all the variation of Amazon is now relying on AWS, which means it's an infrastructure company with a very low margin retail arm. It's not important anymore for Amazon. That's the world we are in. So retail, trading products is only means to an end where they are trying to feed their AWS logistics and the AWS services, but it's not a retail company anymore. Retail is not important for them. What's even more important, and it's very important, like for us to understand, the growth per minute of Amazon globally, its retail and infrastructure, was $150,000 per minute, every hour, every day, every week, every month. That was like the average growth of Amazon, not the revenue. The revenue was like closer to 600,000 per minute. Only the growth Amazon showed last year was $150,000 per minute. And that's not the only staggering number. The next staggering number is that's a planned investment in 2026 per minute this year. So almost $500,000 per minute will be spent from Amazon in CapEx, which is mainly going into infrastructure. Infrastructure not meaning new warehouses, but meaning data warehouse infrastructure. It's a totally different business model, which is showing now economies of scale, which are very hard to beat with our old e-commerce strategy. So it's like they have won the numbers game, and obviously Chinese competitors, and the ones who were attending Stefan Wenzel's presentation yesterday might have seen it. They are showing similar numbers. And obviously, and we will dive into this later, most of the money on the retail side is not making with like selling products anymore. It's like by selling advertisement space. So retail media is a way more interesting and important business for Amazon than it is. And it will show you like the full statistic from Jochen Krisch's blog, Exciting Commerce, in a minute. The whole retail media model is not only important for Amazon, but it's important for most new platform retailers. It's not the trade of products anymore, where they're making the money with, or the economies of scale with logistics. It's the retail media arm. Here's a revenue number of Instacart. So Instacart's internal revenue was 3.7 billion. The EBITDA was 1 billion. Their retail media revenue was 1,087 million with a 90% margin, meaning that almost all of the EBITDA of an Instacart, actually a logistics company, is coming out of retail media. So they are not in a retail game anymore, and if all the big performing platforms globally are earning money not by selling products but by selling services, here's the retail media services, then you should ask yourself if you can earn money with like selling products anymore. And I doubt it. I highly doubt it that you will be able like to earn money with like selling products in the future. And obviously, what's coming next is that we are moving away from the old learned e-commerce game where we were. The time counter is lost, so I guess I have 50 minutes left or so, right? We are moving away from the old model where we had to import products into like Europe or like into close to our customers' homes to be able like to deliver it from home. We are moving now in a world where factory to consumer is taking over. So from supplier to customers, we don't need all the steps in between. We don't need procurement and distribution anymore. We just erase it. That's actually the model like Temu was very successful with, also in China. And it comes with like two claims. It comes with price beats morale, which is especially in Germany kind of a surprise because we all expected that people will eventually orientate back to the good platforms that are paying taxes and take care of the product quality. And price beats availability, which is even more important. The whole availability claim that we will be able to deliver products very, very fast is over already. So customers are willing to wait for a product 2 weeks or more when the comparable price is like 10% cheaper. And obviously, when you like erase a lot of this value chain steps in between, it's very easy to achieve this. And this is something I was taking out of an old presentation from last year. I'm still surprised about this statistic here. I did, together with Opinion, we did kind of a study 2023 with US customers where we tried to probe this moral dilemma. And we asked them in the study, how important are locally made or traded products for you? And 75% said important or very important, and only 25% that said, that's for me not important. That's for me not a marker for the product decision. What's even more interesting is when we were asking them, okay, how often have you shopped at Temu and Shein last year? You saw that the people that claimed only 2 questions before it's important were shopping more often at those new platforms than other people. And that's obviously, for me, I kind of erased the whole like moral claim out of my business playbook, because customers are obviously like behaving in a different way. Okay, these are like the facts. This is kind of where the market is heading. So platforms are obviously winning, and they are taking most of the margin out of the game here. And then the question is, so where does it lead us? So what will it make with our businesses from a retailing perspective, from a manufacturing perspective, even from a vendor perspective? And I want to show you a couple of questions I'm having right now when I'm reading all this kind of news, when I try to digest all this kind of stuff and to translate those in my frameworks. I'm trying to figure out, okay, what does it mean for me? And obviously one of the most important questions, especially from a retailing perspective, is when it's no longer profitable to import or store products, who is earning the money? It's not the retailer earning the money here. It's actually not the manufacturer in China earning the money. So I highly doubt there's any manufacturer earning money with like producing solar panels in China. Competition is super, 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 super tough. But who is then earning who is earning then the money? And how can I participate in this kind of part of the value chain? And this is kind of a screenshot I took yesterday from Temu.com. And this kind of, it's crazy how cheap you can get stuff these days. I highly doubt that this kind of drone is as good as the DJI Mini Pro 5, but all the stuff is working. But nobody's earning money there from a product perspective, which was super different like 2 or 3 years ago. Second, and even more important question is, everybody's kind of working on capturing demand features. 95% of all the vendors here, of all the boosters I'm looking at, is like capture demand technology. Give me your money. I'm optimizing your product data so you can convert better the traffic you have. Give me your money. I'm handling your budget for Amazon ads better than you can do it yourself. It's all demand capturing. And like for me, it's, if you look at Otto, that was my first employer. If you look at 70% or like 50% of the visible part of like Otto.de, that's all feature which are like where big teams are working on like capturing demand, like facet filtering, trying to move the right product into the right way. But what's missing is the ability to create demand. And this is actually where a big part of our industry needs to move to. Show me how you can create demand. I don't need to be a student in a TikTok dance class, but I need to understand how I can create the demand. And this will also be like, for some of you, the new job description. The job description won't be to log into a dashboard and like optimize the demand capturing process. The job will be to create demand, and we have to learn it. There's almost no vendor here on the whole floor space helping you to create demand. It's all demand capturing technology, and this is not needed anymore because that is actually not where the money is in the future. And it's a question which I cannot even answer like for myself. It's a hard problem to solve, but actually hard problems to solve are problems where you can have a margin. Most important question on the retail side is obviously that when only new revenue models are generating EBITDA for platforms, what is my options as a retailer or a manufacturer? Even if you look into like the Amazon balance sheet, if you look into Instacart balance sheet, if you look into all the other balance sheets, it's only new revenue models. Could be retail media, could be AWS kind of infrastructure models, could be selling data. Those are generating EBITDA. Amazon is today closer to the Google Media business model than it is to a retailing model, especially from the EBITDA side. And that obviously leaves the question for us: so what's our business case? So if this is the way how you can earn money or how you will earn money in the future, obviously, and this is also how we were looking at it at Spryker, the only way to answer this question is not to become like the next B2B retailer, the next B2C retailer. The answer must be to become somehow a platform or participate in the platform generating revenue stream. That's the only answer. And this is also why a couple of people don't understand where we're moving with Spryker. Just building the next online shop is just not solving a problem anymore. It's a commodity. It became a commodity. We must help our customers like to become platform, and at least to like generate new platform revenue. And what's even more challenging now these days, you might have seen it, this week Amazon launched the, how is it called? Amazon Creative Agent. So I received a press release from like Amazon with their Creative Agent, where they were telling me, hey Alex, now every manufacturer, every retailer, regardless how small they are, they can create now ads which are on par with very, very expensive ads like from creative agency. Now everybody can do it. You can do it, I can do it, a Chinese retailer can do it. But then my question is if everybody can do it, if a mother can create an ad for her, I don't know, self-produced Topflappen, yeah, and can send it on Amazon Prime, how do you differentiate in this kind of world? Obviously, good product descriptions, good product photos, good videos, it's not a differentiator anymore. That's not enough. That's only feeding the circle of death. That's obviously not the direction I want to see you go in the next 2 or 3 years. It's without an alternative to use this if you're already trapped there, if you're in the Amazon ecosystem. But if everybody can do it, so how do you differentiate? This kind of the questions I'm seeing and I'm having, and on top of this, which kind of gave me a lot of headaches and sleepless nights in the last couple of days, was an article written by Matt Schumer. I don't know how many people here have read it. Maybe can you show hands up who have seen this kind of article? It has like 100 million reads already, and it's also linked in the presentation when you receive the download yesterday. Everything, and some of people in the room have obviously already used like Lovable. So everything is super easy now, and it really feels like a singularity moment. And if everything is so easy, and everybody can do it, and I'm pretty sure we will move it into production in the next couple of weeks and months, even in our industry. So what will most of us actually do in the future, including me? It's a question very hard. It's a question very hard to find an answer for. But Leon Winscheid actually showed an interesting concept in his show where he said, "Okay, now is a moment where you need to look a bit deeper. We need to look under the hood and try to understand it a bit better." And there he showed an experiment which is close to the very popular Milgram experiment, but it's not as popular. So it's actually an experiment that really happened at a university. So in a university there was an experimental group which hired 4 actors. So these are like 4 actors. And then they invited test subjects. Those 4 actors were briefed, so they knew what to do. And the test subjects were invited into a session and say, "Okay, we are doing kind of an interview process. Please wait at this bench." And this old guy is a test subject. And in this experiment, the actors were briefed that, like with the tone of a whistle, they were briefed to stand up and hold up like a sign. I don't know why Gemini put "Wir stehen auf" on this sign, but somehow this was created. And like the test subject, he didn't know why people were standing up. But after the 3rd turn, usually the test subject stood up and also hold up the sign without knowing it, and they were not allowed to talk. That was part of the experiment. When the test subject joined, one of the actors was leaving the scene, moving into the interview room, and then a new test subject was coming in, also not briefed. And only after like 20 turns, no actors were left, only test subjects were there, and they all stand up like with a whistle tone. Without knowing why, they just did it. And sometimes it feels also in our industry, you're just like standing up because other people are doing it, especially with this kind of new thing coming around the block. That doesn't make sense. Now is actually the moment actually to watch and see and understand. But there's hope. There's a couple of things which I believe are happening right now where we can, which we can use. The one thing is obviously, and I talked with Mooney tomorrow at the breakfast table. I believe there's like a big wave of very strong Chinese brand coming into the European market. Today, Chinese brands don't do like a good job of like becoming true brands. And this screenshot from Brands Factory, where they were listing just like brands that are IPOing in China right now. Some of those brands you might know, like Insta360. That's kind of the new GoPro standard right now. Maybe some of you are like involved in LED technology. So Govi is kind of the LED technology to go. So 90% of all the things you can move here in your household are produced in China in a very high quality. And what I'm asking myself, so who is helping like the next brand of WMF moving out of China into the European market? So I just like created this picture where I'm saying, okay, it's kind of a thing in Europe where like the parents of the married couple are giving away like a cutlery set of WMF, but it's going to be like a new brand in the future. And those brands are coming into the market, and those brands will need our help. So who is going to be like the translators for these brands to become like true recognized brands? Second thing, what we are seeing everywhere, we are seeing a very, very, very strong move into like resilience mode. Goldman Sachs just last week created a new index where they were separating different like software solutions into software solutions that will be very hard to replace in the futures, and software solutions like Monday.com easy to replace. Every company needs to do it. Every company needs to figure out how they can be more resilient in the future. Same thing as we did. So we were moving like into B2B industries, or not so visible on the B2C side anymore, but it's helping us a lot. Everybody needs to think about becoming like rather a smart follower than the innovative guy who is implementing UCP. And UCP is just like a placeholder for new technologies coming up. And I'm pretty sure you're going to find many new protocols in the next couple of weeks. And I don't believe being the first one implemented will help you like to gain any advantage. It's not SEO times anymore. And in another podcast, I said like SEO is a Burgergate of e-commerce. There's nothing to win anymore being the first. It's actually, there's more to lose now being the first, because we're anyway like in an auctioning system. And for some of you, there still might be the move left to go into like the B2B industry, where we are very active right now, where like returns are much better, where like the value our industry can provide is much more welcome, and where you don't have the platform effects I just told you before, and which I can highly recommend today, and which you can do like for your company or for yourself, is ask your most critical LMM agent what you should do. So I'm usually a user of Supergrok, because Supergrok has no moral filters and gives you very, very, very harsh feedback. I just typed in, if you work in e-commerce today, how would your employer try to save money at your expense? Which new roles are trying to take over your job? Simulate a wargaming session. I'm doing this now with companies in workshop, trying to simulate like attack situations from other company, and you don't need days anymore to think about this wargaming setups anymore. You only need a couple of minutes and to feed those tools. It comes back with very, very, very interesting suggestions, and I can highly recommend doing this as soon as possible for your company or for yourself. It gives you a lot of interesting insights, and I believe like 26 and 27 are the years where we need to refocus and reorientate. And now, after those 30 minutes, and I only have like 2 slides left, I know you became like critical thinkers, and we're gonna test it now. And it's also something I stole from Mr. Winscheid. I will show you a sentence now, and you have to count the number, the letter F. How many times are you seeing the letter F in the following sentence? You will have like 5 to 6 seconds, and then I will hide the sentence, and I will ask you how many Fs you're going to count. It's not a big sentence, it's not a long sentence, so count the amount of letter F. So how many Fs are you going to find in this sentence? You have a couple of seconds. It's at least one, that I can tell you. Okay, we have learned we are critical thinkers who have counted 2. 3? 4? 3 or 4? Okay. Usually most are saying like 3. It's actually 6. It's not an intelligence test. What I want you to say is your brain is tricking you. Your brain is doing predictions without letting you know. Though most of you haven't counted the letter of the off. Those 3 letters are usually missing in the count. And this is something you should not allow your brain to do now. Now is actually the time like to question like every decision, to question like strategy, your strategy, and a couple like of tactical things you should do. And if you want to be more informed about it, you can also read it in the e-commerce book, which you can like win in a second. And this is also my last slide. Thank you.
Really interesting to hear what you presented us today. Yesterday, I visited several speakers, and some of them told from the stage that the price is not the competitive advantage anymore. And today, you actually somehow destroyed that message. So I just try to make a structure out of all these messages. Probably you can explain, because yesterday one of the speakers said, Geiz ist nicht mehr geil. Sorry for those of you who do not understand German, but it's like Geiz ist geil was always the German sentence. So can you explain how does it work and why?
Obviously, a matter of perspective, and I'm glad that not all the speakers are like telling you the same thing, and that you cannot agree like easily on all these claims, and they are forcing you to think. From the data I'm seeing, and like from the success of Shein, AliExpress, and TikTok Shop, and Temu, definitely guides the sky, for sure. For most products, even for luxury products, even their price is like the ability of creating a deal is now the leading ability, like to sell the product. So I can prove it with data. I don't know what the other speaker who told you guides the sky is not a thing anymore has told you, but I think it's helping you if you take my perspective and the other speaker's perspective and try to make your own logic about it. It's exactly what we want to achieve, like with this conference, like thinking about it.
All right, next question. Next book winner. Oh yeah, first of all, congratulations. Book and microphone are on the way.
Some of you who still want the book, I convinced like the Edsel booth. If you show up there with a good story, they will give you one. It's around the corner.
First of all, thank you. Very inspiring, and I love the call to action. Where would you position Spryker in this software immune ranking or index?
So it depends actually on the customer positioning. So obviously, like for B2C customers or for many B2C customers, it's going to be a tough story, regardless if they're like taking Spryker or not. But for the B2B customers, we have to figure out, so where do we create value? What can we do better as a software provider than they can do themselves? And B2B, thankfully, is a way more complex business field where we can create value. But most of the customers have shown that their ability like to pay high license fees is changing. So we need to come up with a solution to produce very strong software for a much better price. So we are forced by the industry, obviously too. And to be interesting, like for the capital market, we have to move into like the resilient side of this kind of Goldman Sachs cycle. We don't have an eternity, which is good for us, and we are like fast enough to move in that direction. But if you're stuck like in a B2C side, it's going to be tough.